welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Beautiful. All right, give it a stretch. Okay. Basically spent that whole last work session cutting my hair. Think I'm done. It's fine. It's whatever. It's hair. I don't care. It's whatever. All right. So I didn't get to work on the thing I've been meaning to work on, but like I said previously, I think I'm like 99% sure I'm there, because like a day or two ago, I found out about this thing that you could like search for it. And I was like, oh, okay, that was what I was kind of worried about. So the thing I'm talking about, I've spoken about them before because I'm using them in a new project that I'm working on that I was testing earlier during between the ciphers break. But so I am trying out, and I've spoken about like the technology previously. This here. So what I'm talking about are KV, right? Key value, like data storage kind of stuff, right? And what I like about it is that we spoke about, because Dino, they have their own KV solution. I've spoke about that a couple of days ago. And so Cloudflare has their own KV data storage. And what I like about KV, I don't know if they talk about it here, but so I posted the same link. So it'll be next to the recording of the video. But you can create a global low latency key value data storage. And so my current side project is what they're saying, like create a global. So your key value data storage is replicated at all the different Cloudflare like locations around the world, so that somebody going to your site will get the data from a place close to them, so it comes back faster. I wanted to try that out because the new side project I have is like it'd be cool for that to happen, because there's going to be certain data to like show on certain screens or certain things that you need to be able to kind of do stuff. And so being able to get that quicker would be better. You know what I'm saying? Instead of making a call to a random where, let's say I have the server in, I don't know, Virginia or someplace. And so instead of having somebody from like California having to go all the way, not even all the way, but like if somebody from another country had to go and get it, it'd have to go through to to like Virginia and then go back. Whereas it's just like presentational stuff. So it's kind of like just filling in some things, some details for the page to show. And so I think, yeah, so I'm going to try it out and see what happens. So, and so you can see it's available on free plans here. Cool. So Worker KVs is a data storage that allows you to store and retrieve data globally. With Workers KV, you can build dynamic and performant APIs and websites that support high read volumes with low latency. So like I was saying again, the information is not going to change a lot. You know what I'm saying? It'll just be like more of it. And so it'll just be like pulling. So just getting a little bit of data, bringing it back. That's all I need. You know what I'm saying? There's like not a lot of computational stuff, right? So yeah. So now some features, learn how KVs work and retrieve data. So we're just going to go through here. And then you can use it with Wrangler. So the Workers command line interface, Wrangler, allows you to create, test, and deploy your Workers project. Cool. I've been kind of just doing it in the editor. So I've been kind of setting up these functions. So I use, I guess, Worker page functions or like page functions or something. And that's how I've been kind of doing it, building it out. I haven't really been doing any like local to my device. This project, I'm trying to do everything in the cloud, right? So from my IDE being in the cloud, I just push, I push to GitHub, then it goes and gets deployed to Cloudflare. And so I'm trying to do all that. So regardless of wherever I am, I can work on this project as long as I have like a laptop. I don't need the laptop that has the project on there. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to carry less stuff with me when I travel. So I haven't really been using Wranglers. And then here, the bindings allow your workers to interact with resources on the Cloudflare development platform. So if you're using like R2 durable objects or D1, and they talk about using bindings and stuff, right? Cool. Now, getting started. And again, I haven't really done this yet. So that's what I was going to be doing, but I had to cut my hair. Let's see. So yeah, so getting started, right? So the guy will instruct you through creating a KV namespace, which is, I just did it through the dashboard. And again, you can do it through Wrangler, but I don't have Wrangler installed. Then writing key pair values to your KV namespace from a Cloudflare worker, right? And then reading key value pairs from KV namespace. So enabling it in the dashboard. So I went to dashboards and I enabled KV workers, right? Cool. Then creating a worker project here. So they're setting up the tutorial, yada, yada, yada. Oh, and then they're doing it through here, which I guess I could maybe do also. See, I didn't want to have to set up a wrangler.toml because you can do it through, maybe I'm mistaken. But I could have sworn you could have done it through the dashboard. Well, here, creating a KV namespace via Wrangler. So wait, this is setting up the project. All right, so the hello worker, all right, there. And then the Wrangler toml configuration file. Wrangler toml is how your KV tutorial will access your KV database. So maybe I do need to set something up here then. I have to look into that. I'll look into that. Cool. Okay. So then creating a KV namespace, right? So you can create it with the Wrangler. And so I thought this, yeah, so I thought this command here will put that into, here's your Wrangler Toml joint. So like it creates it in there, the binding in this file. But then, so in your wrangler.toml file, add the following things here. So here's the binding and the ID, right? Okay. So there's more stuff about binding, cool. But then creating a KV namespace via the dashboard. Then you can do it here. Huh. So I was going to, because this is what I did before. I created the namespace here. Whereas, is this creating a namespace? Yeah, this is creating a namespace. And then does this stuff here. Well, I'm wondering if that tells the backend, like the same thing I'm doing in the dashboard, the same thing. Is that the same thing as if when I was doing it like locally? I don't know. Again, I'm just going to try it and see what happens. Interact with the KV namespace. So you can interact with the KV namespace via Wrangler or directly from your worker's application. And that's what I think I'm going to do here from the worker's application, which is like the functions, I think, because that kind of calls it or something. Again, there's a lot of things I'm still trying to like put together. So to write a value, right, to your empty KV namespace using Wrangler, see, they use the Wrangler, that thing there, put. But again, I'm not doing anything locally. So I'm not using the CLI. I want to do it from my actual like function that I'm going to create. So, okay. So yeah, so here's the binding thing. And then you can put like a flag on there. Okay. You can do a bunch of bulk stuff, but then interact with the KV via a worker. And this is kind of like what I'm doing. So I think I need to do this. So my KV namespace, the interface of type KV namespace. And so maybe that'll look it up, I think. So you can access the binding from within your worker. So the same binding that I created. See, where did I create the binding though? Like if I'm doing it through the interactive. Because I'm creating the namespace here. So I need to bind it. So do I need to do that in the toml thing? I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out. But so this is what I'm trying to do here. So in your worker script, add that. Yes. And then use the put method, whatever, to create a new value pair or to update one, right? So that's cool. So your namespace here, same one as here, and dot put. So there's like no post or patch or anything. From what I've seen, it's just put and get and list, right? And so the key value. And some other, so and this is where I'm like, I want to kind of go above that because I saw this later, which I thought was pretty dope. Cool. And then your worker code should look like this. And so this is basically like what I would put in my functions, I think. Or can I just do it directly? I'm thinking maybe I can do it directly. I'm using Astro. So I wonder if I don't know if I can call this. No, I can't call this directly from Astro. So I have to do it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do this in my workers and then have this return back what I need. So it'd be like in my workers folder. I'm in my functions folder. Yeah. This is the stuff I think about. Like I try to think through everything before I actually do it. And it always like kind of like locks me up sometimes until I actually do it and then see. And then, so I just got to do it. Cool. And so it's telling you to use try catch, which makes sense because, you're awaiting it. So that makes sense. And then develop locally. I'm not doing that. Deploy it. Cool. Next steps. Now there's a tutorial. So, that's working with Rust. That's why I didn't do this, but let me see. Again, the project. Cool. Now, okay. So create and bind a KV namespace. So they're doing it through the, doing it through Wrangler here. Add the following. But then this namespace thing, I am actually creating on the dashboard. So I'm doing this in the dashboard, but I think I still need to add this KV namespaces to my Wrangler TOML, which I'm not even sure if it's in my files now. So I have to look. If it is, I'll add it. And then create a preview ID of the namespace. Okay, so you can also do a preview one as well. All right, so then we have the Wrangler TOML joint. Cool. And we got the namespaces. And passing it into object into Rust, which is handling, where is that? I guess here? Oh, I don't know. KV from Rust, I don't know. And then so some whole Rust stuff. But looking at here now, there's a delete too, I guess. Yep, yeah, there's a delete. So there's get, put, delete, list. And so if you wanted to read it, so here, to get the value of a given pair called the get. So it's the namespace. So env.namespace.get and the key, right? But then if I'm not using, would I still use interface if my thing is not a TypeScript file? If it's just JavaScript, I don't think I need the interface. Just do what they're showing here. And so the get method may return stale values if a given key has recently been read in a given location. Changes to the key made in other locations may take up to 60 seconds to display. So again, like I said, I don't think there's going to be a lot. It's basically just from the admin panel setting some stuff up. And so that way, be able to pull those things in. And if anything needs to be generated, it can be done on the client. But I just want to get this information needed down fast. So that's the whole plan there. So yeah, so I think this would be cool. Because yeah, like I said, nothing's really going to be changing a lot. So okay. So yeah, so getting it, the first key. So yeah, that's getting it is .get key. And then you can pass in an options object with a type parameter to get to the get method function. So if you want to return like the values or what have you, if it's like a JSON, you can get a JSON, an object decoded from a JSON string. So it all depends. So if your value is a text, then you can just say text. I think that's the default. Yeah, use the default text. So it comes back as a string. But then if you have a JSON, then instead of getting back as a string and then doing JSON parse on it, you can just do JSON automatically without having to do that. And if you want to do array buffer or a readable stream, which is interesting. So like it comes down in chunks and then you can put it together. I don't know. So yeah. And same thing like a array buffer. Cool. All right, never mind. Okay, cool. Then you can do the cache stuff. All right. And here, the metadata. This is also cool. So if I'm getting something, you can get the value and the metadata with the get with metadata key. So passing in the metadata. So, all right. Now, writing to it, right? We saw before is just the put here. And then you have this key and the value, right? But then, so that's cool, right? You get expiring keys and all sorts of stuff. Cool. And then the metadata. See, this is what's cool here. So that you can pass in, when you create it, you can pass in some metadata. And then I guess you have to do that get with metadata or whatever the thing was. You could do that also. Cool. But now, all that to say, this list thing is pretty dope. So, so you use the list operation to view all the things, right? So yeah, right here, you get the value, and the environment, the namespace of the KV, and they list it. Cool. Now it comes back as like an array, so here are your keys. So it comes back as an object, right? So it returns a promise that resolves with an object that looks like the following. So then it has the keys, and then it's an array of the different keys, right? But notice there's no value in here, because so what you'd have to do is, if you wanted to get like the values of each one, then you have to get the keys, the list, and then go through the array and do another call to the get. But what they were saying here, and this was, I was like, oh, this is pretty dope, is that you can list by prefix, right? And so, okay, so yeah, so here is mentioning, consider storing your values in metadata if your values fit in the metadata size limit, which is like 1024, so like a kilobyte basically, right? Storing values in metadata is more efficient than a list followed by a get. So just like I was saying before, here, if you wanted actual values, see, it's not here, you'd have to go through each individual one. So you have to do a list and then have to do a get for each one. And so that's why that's saying that there. So that's when I was thinking, cool, I can do it, just put it into the metadata stuff. So so you just have the key, nothing for value, and then you just put in the metadata. And then when you want to get the actual, then here you don't even have to, because my idea is to not even necessarily need, especially like I'm going to be listing some stuff out in the first part, right? And so I want to have some information that will then be able to be displayed on that first page. And then when somebody clicks it, it goes to another page. And then from there, I can just do with the metadata, and then just bring that down even quicker. So I don't think I would need the actual value for anything. I think I could do everything with metadata. Because again, there's like just small, like little information pieces, right? So nothing too, maybe like a description, maybe like a longitude, latitude, and then maybe like a title, I think. And then depending, I guess, if it's private or public. And then if it's like a solo thing or a group thing. So yeah. But yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh yeah. So this is also cool. So this is what I was like, oh, this is kind of like what I'm looking for. So because it's going to be a bunch of different events, and I wanted to be able to kind of like search, not but pull a certain thing from that list. I didn't want to do the whole list, right? So it's more like a certain subsection of it. And so they have this list by prefix. So list all the keys starting with a particular prefix. And so, for example, you may have structured your keys with a user ID, and key names separated by colons, such as, so you have like the user, right? Their ID, and then the name of the key. And so being able to see that you could do this with the colons, I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. Because then you can get the keys for user number one, like all the keys, right, by using the following code. And so you do the list, and then you put the prefix, and it's just the first two parts. So you just put user and one, and then leave that part like empty. And then anything that matches that, which is all the keys for user one. So I was like, oh, that is smart. So because that's kind of like how I want to do the private and the public stuff, because I don't want the private stuff to show up in the public one, right? So then I would set it up to where it would just bring back the public or the private that I would need. Yeah. And then there's different ordering and stuff and pagination and things. So yeah. So I'm going to kind of go through this again. And they have like this online thing I want to play around with to see if I can do that there before I put it into my own project. So yeah, if anybody has any experience with this, feel free to hit me up, because I'm still trying to like go through it in my brain to make sure I kind of understand it. So with that said, we'll get you all back to work. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna send you all with some traveling music. This right here is Nujabes featuring a Pawnee Bee. It's called Thank You. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you around. All right, y'all be easy. Thanks again. Peace.
But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me.